Hello, T.S.P followers. This is thestormypoet. Very, very, very glad you could join me today. This here is part 2 of the Levels of Love tips. Stop being attracted to the Hoodfellas. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, or at TheLevelsOfLove.com. Or at TheRootOfAllLove.com, which the official name of that site is The Levels of Love. Or at the iWall, which is at thestormypoet.com. Very glad you could join me today. What I wanted to dive into is, first and foremost, I don't think in my last podcast, Be Careful What You Call Sexy, that I really narrated why I started the Levels of Love website in addition to the Stormy Poet. The reason if I may, second, the reason I want to really elaborate on why I started that site was because I really feel it's important for people to know what my intent behind it is. It's a relationship guidance site, but as I put in the kind of disclaimer, I wouldn't call it a disclaimer, it's just my mission statement on the About Me section on there. What I put in there was that it's a relationship guidance site, but more importantly, I take a different approach than most relationship coaches, if you will. First and foremost, I'm officially not a relationship coach. I don't have degrees in this or any of that. I just practice common sense. I read a lot of books. I learned a lot on the topic, and I kind of put things in a kind of down-to-earth format, easy to digest format, and I kind of compile all the information and put it to something that's tangible. No, I'm not going to claim that. There are experts in the field. There's licensed counselors who have oaths of morality and confidentiality, and who devote their lives to this, to educating themselves in this and going to school for this. And anything I don't know, I'll refer you to the experts. But I really feel the biggest problems between men and women in this modern age in regards to romance and a lot of other relationships, I won't even just limit it to romance, as far as even friendships between men and women, as far as business partnerships between men and women have been really tainted by our culture of misogyny and seeing women as objects and objectification, all that good stuff. So I really wanted to create this website to disseminate information about that, but without taking the route of bashing men or bashing women, and it's y'all women's fault and y'all need to get y'all bleep together, and it's men's fault, and y'all, you see these videos being passed around Facebook where this dude is just going off on this rant telling women what they want to hear. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to tell people what they need. That's not what you want, then this is not the place for you or the site. I'm just not going to tell people what they want to hear. I think that we got enough of that going on. From your Steve Harveys to your Tyrese's of the world. You see Tyrese, you see he's full of crap now. You see he was sitting up there on that wise, all-knowing BS, and y'all see that brother's for what he really is. I'm not your Derrick Jacksons or any of that. I'm just a brother that just says, hey, here's a different way of looking at things. And I'll link all my information up. It's factually based. Some of it is just summations of kind of behavior I've seen, but for the most part, I try to be as factually based as I can. I don't just like giving opinions. I like to disseminate information, kind of compile it all and put it in a plain form view. Anyways, what I wanted to talk about today was basically something I am seeing a trend of, again, kind of the world through my lens, but this has been going on for a long time, and I wouldn't even say that it's just, you can't even just limit it to thug or thugism or whatever the hell you want to call it, but, I would say that it goes beyond that. You always hear the term, nice guys finish last. Or, women go for bad boys and all that. But to put everything into context, what I'm talking about today is what the title is referring to is Hoodfellas. Now, I could have said, hood, you know what, the other thing you typically hear associated with that word, but for the sake of being politically correct, I'm not going to do that. And I know that certain people are listening. And even though I drop F-bombs and S-bombs from time to time, let certain things fly, I'm going to try to be as professional as possible. I can't guarantee anything, but damn it, I'll try. Anyways, so, I've been, this is nothing new, obviously. If you grew up in certain situations, or you've been in certain situations where you've been the nice stand-up guy, the guy that is by the book and respectful, and you pride yourself and or you strive to be, you're a man of knowledge, and you strive to be a man of integrity. You're not fitting into a certain stereotype or whatever. And you see the guy over there with the typical, stereotypical thug characteristics or hood characteristics getting the girl. Happens all the time. And you're like, well, I thought you wanted you thinking to the girl, I thought you wanted a good dude. I thought you wanted a dude that was about his business. I thought you wanted a dude that was striving, trying to better himself and trying to evolve as a human being. And that's getting rewarded with the ladies. But first of all, we got to talk about this, the hood fella, the thug dude or whatever. We got to talk about what that is and dissect that first and foremost. And when you break that down, it's really that's pretty much just a stereotype. It's a stereotype predominantly given to that specific to black men, essentially specific to brothers. But that doesn't mean anybody can't entertain it, and that doesn't mean that wild, goonish behavior is specific to just black men. Of course not. But in context of black men, because I am a black man myself, that's what we're gonna go along those lines, and we know what that looks like. That's portrayed everywhere. That's portrayed in the entertainment. That's portrayed in the media. Blah blah blah. And so we have to really accept that for what it is, as a damn stereotype. And I look at kind of where that stereotype originated from, and where that kind of what the root of that is. And if you really look at it, if you go deep down into it, the hood itself, which can be tied into ghetto, essentially. Look at what the ghettos are. Those are products of systematic racism, white supremacy, where these concentrated groups of black people were put in these inner cities due to housing discrimination and redlining. And this is factually can be proven. This is not something I'm making up, or that it's opinions or anything like that. There's actual historical documentation of this. I'm reading the book The Color of Law right now. I'm almost finished, but I've been reading this book for a while, and it gives you a very detailed history of that. So we have to look at why these neighborhoods were created, to first and foremost, to kind of really figure out what is the nature of the state of what a lot of black people, more specifically black men, are living in. So in these areas, because of housing discrimination, and even not being able to participate economically because of that, you have areas of concentrated poverty where people are trying to survive. They do what they got to do to survive. Any area of poverty, there's going to be a high there's going to be a high rate of crime. That's just statistically across the board, no matter if you're white, black, whatever. So that's why you see in the media a lot of the times, like, why are black people out here killing each other? And what about black on black crime? Well, it's because a good majority of us are living in poverty. In any area of poverty, you're going to see this type of behavior. So what does that crime look like? Obviously it's selling drugs and shooting each other up and gangbanging and doing all this shit, which they heavily police, which they choose to over police in these particular areas. And then you kind of get into the stereotype of the person due to lack of education. The educational system is pretty much failed these people in these concentrated areas. Another form of systematic racist policies that have affected black people, more specifically the descendants of slaves. I'm not talking about foreigners. I'm not talking about Mexicans. I'm talking about specifically African Americans and descendants of slaves. So you see this collective behavior, and of course the mainstream media. There's plenty of presentations on YouTube that shows the difference between how black people are portrayed in the media when they do crime and how white people are portrayed. You can go look that up. Just Google, just YouTube that. There's plenty of presentations about that. So normally, if it's a protest or we're rioting or something like that, a lot of the lingo you be hearing tossed around in these headlines is these thugs destroying their own communities, these whatever. So essentially, with a hood fella and thug and hood N-word, that's all the same. That means all the same thing, especially to racist white folks. And racist in general. This systematic racism in this state of oppression that we live in America. It all means the same thing. So essentially, is what you have is a collection of black men fighting for their survival, doing what they got to do to survive in these systematically racist imposed socioeconomic conditions. And so that's where you get hood niggas from. I'm sorry, but I got to use it in that particular instance. Hood niggas. That's what you get. So when you look at it in that context, what's really attractive about that? What's sexy about that? What's appealing about that? Well, first of all, I can kind of give you a little bit of background. That's in pretty much a lot of the, I wouldn't say a lot of the forms of entertainment, but a lot of us grew up listening to hip hop, and that was portrayed as this kind of like lavish lifestyle of this dude with power that had some type of power. And of course, that's tied in with money, not nothing else, just money. And a dude that was a go-getter, and that was a hustler, and that had things, and that overcame these insurmountable odds to become a success story. So that's what it's portrayed as. That's what it's been portrayed as in hip hop, and that's appealing because it represents a man who's a provider and who is strong and sturdy and who's creative and innovative and is going to find a way to provide and get his. Yeah, that's appealing. But if we really take a closer look at it, and we look at those situations that these, real black men have to survive in regards to living in the ghettos. That's what they are. They're ghettos. I don't stray away from that word because, they were using that during Nazi Germany. The situations that the Jews were living in is ghettos. No, I don't stray away from that. That's exactly what they were. That's the exact equivalent of that. So what you have is these black men trying to survive these horrible socioeconomic conditions, and what do thugs have to do to kind of survive that? Short of, I don't know. If you really think about it, the most readily available way to make it out is to sell drugs. One of the most readily available ways to make it out is to rob your own people, to destroy your own people, and destroy your community, destroy others, take from others, poison others. So what rap music has sold in the past, or whatever. I mean, I'm not gonna blame rap music for this. I'm not gonna do that because there's a lot of positive hip hop out there too. But in regards to how the thug Hoodfellas has been glamorized, that's what most of them had to do. That's what most of these brothers had to do that make it. You know, even your precious Jay-Z and all that. I mean, I was having a discussion with a coworker a while back, and she was talking about 444, and she was like, well, at least he was talking about, I was saying I really didn't think it was all that deep. I didn't really think it was anything that innovative as far as y'all need to start your own businesses and stuff like that. That's stuff that a lot of brilliant black minds have been saying for a long time, and I'm not dissing, Jay-Z's level of consciousness or anything like that, but I just didn't think the album was that deep. I thought he was saying very elementary, rudimentary, spitting very elementary concepts. And she was like, well, at least he was saying that. And I'm like, that really ain't all that or whatever. And then she said, yeah, but, I also asked her, I was like, what model for success is he really spitting about? Like, what models? I need like step-by-step, like directions in the entertainment, like as far as helping black people now. I need step-by-step, like instructions. And you might ask, well, how's that going to be entertaining? Well, you're a rapper, you're an artist, make it entertaining. I mean, I write about, solutions and steps all the time. I write about that stuff in my poetry. I'm a poet. Granted, I'm just a literary artist, but I write about things that we need to do, like step by step. So, kind of like blueprints, no pun intended. But the thing about it is, and she said to me, well, if you look at his career, he started his own record label, him and Damon Dash. I'm like, where do you think they got the money to do that? Slinging that weight, poisoning their own people, destroying and killing their own people. And, this is not a knock at Jay-Z, but we have to be honest about how a lot of these hood fellas get they start. Where did they start at? How did they get the money to fund the studio time? How did they get the money to buy the studios? How did they get the money to buy the equipment? And a lot of times it was pumping bass. I can't ignore that. I mean, we can't just ignore that. We got to be honest about that. So if you look at a hood fella in that context, that's a tragedy. That's a product of systematic racism. He is the embodiment of systematically racist policy. He's the end product of that. So how is that sexy? How is it sexy when that man's educational system has completely 100% failed him at every corner and has not prepared him to go compete in the world? He can't even damn near talk straight. That's not attractive at all. That's not sexy at all. That's a tragedy. You need to be sad. Brothers that's been locked up. If you look at mass incarceration, you look at the numbers and the data, how disproportionately we get locked up more than any other, prosecuted more than any other demographic across the board. It's not even close. It's not even like it's another group that's kind of close to us. It's not even the Hispanic men. Nobody comes close to that, period. So these brothers that's been to jail and, especially if you've been to prison and you've been, Lord knows what's been done to you up in there. Okay, there's nothing hard about that. That means you're a victim. That means you have no power. So what if you got a couple of dollars? Look what you had to do to get it. And that's what my point is. I'm not saying that you can't be attracted to somebody who's made something of themselves, and in spite of all that crap that was dealt, the cards that were dealt to them. But what I'm trying to say is somebody who is still trying to embody that stereotypical image of what a tough, strong, sturdy, brave, go-getting, hustling black man is supposed to be. We got to do away with that bullshit. There's nothing sexy about that. That's a tragedy. You need to mourn that. Anybody who feels like they have to embody that, and I'm not talking about the brothers that genuinely, they came up that way and this is who they are, and I'm talking about anybody that feels that anybody that feels like they have to embody that to get any kind of respect. That's what I'm talking about. To be attracted to, appear to be attracted to a female. That's what I'm talking about. So, what I challenge women, more specifically black women, to do is, I can't even just say, I'm not even going to, no, hell no. What I challenge women to do is, okay, just like I was talking about in my last podcast, about like, what do we really define as sexy? Really know the dynamics of what kind of led to this very stereotypical persona of black men. And ask yourself, why would I be attracted to something that is a complete travesty and a failure on a systematic level in America? Why would I be attracted to that? Why would I find that attractive and sexy? And I would pose this to all the women listening and start challenging men on their BS behavior. Start saying to men, I don't find all, so what if a brother has tattoos or whatever, gold teeth or whatever? Okay, that's what that is. But I'm talking about, let's start challenging men to a higher standard. Let's stop rewarding and praising the stereotypical image of what a black man is supposed to be. Let's stop rewarding that, and I would challenge women, stop praising men for doing that, for being this image, because you're just essentially, how do I put this? You're essentially like contributing in to that negative stereotype. You're keeping it alive and well, and you're keeping it going, instead of really looking at the systematic factors that led to a black man feeling like he has to embody this really detrimental stereotype that gives white supremacy a reason to label him. They're looking to label us thugs and criminals and gangsters and hoodlums and stupid animals. They're looking for reasons already. Don't reward him looking like that because you're contributing to white supremacy. Period. Anyways, y'all, I'm not going to take too much of your time. That's been my Levels of Love tip for today. I appreciate you taking the time to listen in. I hope you were able to take some information away from this. If you like what I'm doing or would like to see it continue, my dollar contribution link is in the description. Feel free to give me any dollar amount. Any little bit helps. I'm the one doing all the writing. I'm the one doing all the video editing. I'm the one doing everything. It's not some big time corporate blog or anything like that, or article or column. This is all me doing everything. This is a grassroots project. I just want to inform the people and get the information out. So any dollar amount helps. I appreciate you tuning in today. This has been The Stormy Poet. Feel free to check out thestormypoet.com or rootofalllove.com. I look forward to seeing you there. You can contact me at any of those websites. Reach out to me with any questions. I would love to answer any of your questions. And I wholeheartedly appreciate your time. I hope each and every one of you has a positive and productive day. One love. Peace.